This is Detroit's Morning Answer with John Anthony on FM 92.7 and AM 1400. The Answer.
Good morning, Detroit. Detroit's Morning Answer with John Anthony. If you missed that first hour, head over to theanswerdetroit.com. That's theanswerdetroit.com. Download the podcast. You can listen to the show no matter where you are. I'm feeling a little hurt today. I'm in 8th place in fantasy, and I'm really hurt. I've had to piecemeal a team together every week, but that's neither here nor there. Be quiet, Paul. The United Kingdom, right now they're facing a fierce backlash over this proposed mandatory digital ID system known as the BRIC card. There have been more than 2.8 million people who signed a petition warning that such a program could open the door to mass surveillance and government overreach. Some are now asking, could the same thing happen here in the United States? This morning, we're joined by Bruce Torres. He's the Director of Communications for the American Small Business League and the Don't Cheat Woman Project, an advocacy initiative dedicated to elevating women-owned small business and federal contracting. So as this digital identity systems gain momentum globally, we'll explore what that could mean for privacy, freedom, and entrepreneurship here at home. Bruce, welcome back to Detroit's Morning Answer.
John, great to be here. How are you?
Well, I'm a little hurt this morning because I'm 4-10 in my fantasy league, and I just don't know how to respond to this, Bruce.
You'll get through it. You will get through it.
No, but Bruce, the UK's BRIC card rollout, as I've said, it's triggered widespread public backlash, millions signing petitions, and they've been warning of this government control and data tracking. What stands out to you most about the public's response?
Well, it's not to be surprised. The internet has led us for 20, 25 years now. Regular people learn more about the horrible things that authority and power always do to us. Yeah. So it's great that there's that backlash. It might be one of the top 1 or 2, 3 issues facing humanity, what that digital ID represents. I've taken a big dive and look into such things for years, and this one particularly over the years. I have a lot to say about it, and it's great that you are asking about it and bringing it up to mind,
Yeah. Now, some critics say this move feels like the first step towards the China social credit system. But Bruce, from your vantage point as a communicator and somebody who's a policy advocate, are those fears exaggerated or are they justified?
Oh, they're very, very justified. And I would steer people to a couple of resources if they have a pen. A website called Solari.com, spelled Solari, Solari.com. It's the project organization of a woman named Catherine Austin Fitz, who's been a banker, a financial expert, former member of Bush 1 cabinet. And she is explaining conclusively not only how bad the digital ID is, but also remedies, ways that we can escape the control grid. The digital ID, John, is a major chain or handcuff or whatever you want to say to her concept of the digital control grid for the world rulers who want to tag, track, and trace our every move and control us, not only with a digital ID, but that would be linked to digital currency. Worse, programmable currency. So now they could incentivize and terrify us with carrots and sticks to control our every little move because it would be tracked and traced through the combination of a digital ID and digital currency.
Okay, Bruce, there are people probably listening and saying, John, Bruce, a digital ID, what is it? How is that going to affect my life? What is a digital ID, and why is it important that people know what it is to be on the lookout for it?
basically, in broad strokes, it would act as something as your permission to access goods, services, even the internet or websites, and to buy things. And they've created the classic problem, reaction, solution. The problem, one of the huge problems that so-called could justify this level of slavery, really, is the immigration flood into Europe, starting with our phony war on terror 20 years ago, and now the immigration flood in the United States. It's all to create chaos and problems and to say, listen, we have to know who's a real citizen, therefore this is the handiest way. So it would be like you wouldn't be able to do anything without this digital ID. That's the short answer to your question.
Wow. Now, here's a question for you. Do you believe the American public and Congress would push back as strongly as the British people have? Or are Americans becoming more comfortable with trading privacy for convenience? Because it sounds like if you brought this down to the level of a small business, a national digital ID, in theory, it would simplify federal contracting verification. But what do you think the American response would be to something like this?
Unfortunately, I would bet that we would go along to it to a suicidal degree. I hope that we wouldn't. And it'll start with state real IDs and digital IDs before they foist a national program on us. But it's urgent for folks to get up to speed and to talk about this and to do all that we can to say no and resist it. You asked if Congress would resist it. No. Individual House and senators might, but as a body for decades, they have sold out to giant corporate and money and banking interests. They don't work for us. We can't look to them for salvation. We should always harass them so that they might do our will, but 80% of our time ought to be spent on strengthening our own resources and ability to survive in our local communities.
Right. Now, Bruce, that Fox News report, it quotes experts warning that this centralized ID databases could become a hacker's dream. We've seen data breaches at major government agencies like the United States Office of Personnel Management, the IRS, even the Pentagon. Why should we believe a digital ID system would be any different?
Oh, we shouldn't. Absolutely not. Because for all the performance of efficiency, you mentioned the Pentagon, men and women in uniform looking sharp and crisp and almost robotic in their efficiency. It's a joke because they're humans. And also those institutions are rife with corruption and factions, tearing at each other. And luckily, we've got some gridlock because it prevents the worst of the harms that they want to inflict on us. Unfortunately, we've got gridlock because the shutdown is impeding a lot of things. But yeah, the hacking and all that possibility, it's almost, what is it, Murphy's Law? Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Well, I'm not so pessimistic, but the level of power and control that the federal government has over us for decades and decades and decades now is so far beyond anything imagined by the founders. I correct myself. Guess what? In the Federalist Papers, they warn us vociferously about the dangers of power and how its power's tendency to accrue more and more. Yes. And that's why even Eisenhower said, a vigilant and knowledgeable citizenry is our only hope.
And you know what, Bruce? That's why I'm always aware of this term called mission creep. Systems that they start off as voluntary, but then they become mandatory. What safeguards should citizens and lawmakers demand up front before any pilot program begins?
Oh, well, you tell me, because once we get up to speed about if it's half as horrible as I'm trying to scare the hell out of you, John.
I know, I'm already.
You tell me. The greatest safeguard would be, no thanks, no way.
Sorry, Bruce. But you know what? Listen, man. I'm thinking about AI. I see. I'm old enough to remember the Terminator, Skynet, or whatever it was called. I'm old enough that when you merge all of this together, it sounds like the perfect storm for government to dictate every aspect of your life. Because they've been wanting to get into our banks and for decades. They want to see everything that you do. That's a concern, right, Bruce?
Well, absolutely. And, if people go to that site, Solari.com, and go through this door, and then follow up and learn about me at BruceTheTorres.com, and, find our small business issues at ASBL.com, and see the publisher of my book, TrineDay.com. There is a world of stuff out there that we need to know as adults about how the world really works, who's really against us, and these huge economic moves. One tip of their spear is the digital ID. Humanity, century after century, empires rise and fall, power corrupts, it attracts the most vicious and malicious people who want to control others. And it's just our turn, and yet we need to fall in love, we need to have babies, we need to enjoy all the beauty of life while we deal with these realities.
Bruce, I just wrote this down. How does this conversation intersect with the larger debates about the central bank digital currencies, ESG scoring, and
it's two sides of one coin. The worst aspect of the digital currencies is the fact that the intention is to make them programmable, which means turn on and turn offable, which means if they want us to live in a 15-minute city, great. They'll program our digital currency to only work within that 2 or 3 mile radius or whatever 15 minutes is. Okay. So it's a horrifying aspect of it all.
There are a lot of arguments that without digital ID, fight corruption without centralized verification.
I would say now, there, sit down, let's brainstorm. We have limitless imaginations. Human beings have brainstormed their way to possibilities and new ideas that they couldn't think of 5 minutes before the meeting started. Let's make more coffee and just keep talking. And we don't have to knee-jerk. See, fear is how they justify everything. As soon as they can terrify us, hurry up and do something is the natural human response. And that's how they always inflict, power, authority, governments, the worst harms in the name of protecting us.
Yeah.
Wrap one's mind around that and then go slow and think things through and trust your own judgment. And that might be the hardest thing for Americans to do because we were raised in public school to shut up and do what we're told.
Bruce, I can see how they would try to angle somebody like you with the Don't Cheat Woman project because of how you guys, how you expose how a lot of these large corporations, they often masquerade as the small minority or women-owned business, and that's how they capture the federal dollars. Could a digital ID system actually help solve that fraud problem, or do you think it'll just create new ways for big players to dominate?
It'll definitely create ways for new players to dominate, and you are a pro. You have my love and admiration. Look how you worked in my Don't Cheat Women project, John.
I do my homework, brother.
Holy smokes.
I do my
so
homework.
Kind of you. Don'tCheatWomen.com. No apostrophe. Yeah.
But that's a big problem, though, Bruce. I mean, I saw it in my time as a state legislator in Illinois. I actually had somebody approach me who had a trucking company. They wanted me and the wife to buy, to create this company, and they were going to fund everything. I just didn't feel right about it. But that's what happens. These big corporations, this is how they are often able to get a lot of the funds that were meant to go to Don't Cheat Women.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
The federal government. You are adding to the evidence of my claim, our claim, that the federal government does next to nothing for America's small businesses. For all their bragging about the SBA and the loans and this provision and that provision of one big beautiful bills, I repeat, the federal government does next to nothing for the 99.9% of American firms that are small businesses. Washington has been captured by the giant corporate interests, and people need to do a little homework.
Wow. Well, Brewster Torres, give us the websites again. Oh, I think there were 3 you just now gave. Solari, you gave Don't Cheat Women, and also, what's the other?
American Small Business League website is ASBL. That's where you'll learn about the problem with federal contracts going to big businesses that are supposed to go to small businesses, yes. And then Don't Cheat Women. And Solari is just all about the digital stuff.
All right, Brewster Torres, it's always a pleasure when you come on. I learn something new every day, and I really appreciate just how astute and frank you are about a lot of the issues that are. If you were a politician, you probably wouldn't make it that long.
I would love to try.
You're too honest.
We'll see what happens.
All right, Brewster Torres, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, my brother. And we'll be right back.